Welcome back to my channel. My name is Timberland. I am an educational advocate and consultant, a life coach, and professional frolicker, and this is Minding My Black Ass Business. In this episode, I have on my educational advocate hat as I am sharing the traumatic and disturbing events that happened to me while I was working on behalf of the Pennsylvania Department of Education with Chester County Intermediate Unit in Chester County, Pennsylvania, from August of 2020 through June of 2021. My work was in school improvement, specifically in school climate and culture. And what I found out is that school improvement in Pennsylvania is a sham and it is a scam. So I'm here to talk about it. If you missed parts one, two, and three, please click the link to the playlist in the description so you can catch up. We left off in episode three with me sharing what happened when I reported the instances to HR Mary. That was in episodes one and two. In episode three, we started with sharing what happened as they shared their findings with me after their investigation. So we are going to pick up there today, and we are going to watch everything unfold to really see what happened as they called themselves trying to make it right. All right. There were a couple updates that you all have asked me about, so I wanted to make sure that I provide those updates to you. One of which you all were asking about Penwood Middle School and the events that happened there. I referenced the principal, and I shared with you that the principal of that school, how he was very reminiscent of Bull Connor. Well, I have good news that there is a different principal now at Penwood Middle School. Hey, Bianca, thank you for joining me. There's a different principal at Penwood Middle School, so I'm glad to hear that, and I'm hoping that those students are having someone who actually cares about them at that school. I still don't remember that man's name, so I'm gonna find the man's name that I was referencing. But I'm glad to know that they have a new principal there at Penwood Middle School. So somebody made a good decision. Nonetheless, y'all have been asking about my mental health and really trying to make sure that I am okay. And I really appreciate that because this has really dug up some trauma for me that I thought I had dealt with, but nonetheless, it is it's been alive. Like it's really been alive. So I've been doing my best to process it all. Hey Jimmy, and yeah, I've been doing my best to process it all. So I am being very intentional about making sure that I take the time to feel the feelings that come up, as well as pay attention to what's happening in my body so that I don't wind up in a situation of being so triggered that I can't focus. Today, I have with me my sound bowl as well as my sage because today's episode is alive. So I am going to just take a moment to clear the space. If you've never heard of a sound bowl or experienced a sound bowl, this is one of my favorite tools to use because it helps to release trauma and it also helps to clear both sides of the brain space. So the frequency that is given off from hitting the bowl is very soothing to me. So I may have to take some moments as I am here to do that. And I'm going to do that as often as I need. So, all right, y'all, let's get into it, honey. Let's talk about the things that have happened. So, if you watch part three is where I shared with you the beginning of the meeting that took place on January 15th, 2021, where HR Mary, Danielle, the at the time assistant director of HR, now, or when I left, had been promoted to director of HR. They were in the space sharing their investigation, and I also had Portia to join me, who was providing some mental support, emotional support, advocation for me, and doing all that she could to show up for me in that space. So when we left off in part three, I had just shared my impact statement of what occurred to me, and they were just about to share their findings. So that is where we are going to pick up today. So if you are lucky enough to be watching live, please do ask any questions that you might have or give me any reactions to what you are feeling in those moments, because it definitely is a lot. And I know that it's a lot. So I want you to be able to process all of this as well along with me. All right. So, all right. So we're going to pick up here, and you all know how this goes. I play the video, and every so often I will come in to provide any context if that context is necessary. I'm also going to make sure that I pull up emails or any evidence that may contradict what you might see, or just to remind you of the things that I had already shared with these people prior to entering this. So, again, this is January 15th, 2021. This is the meeting that I had with HR Mary, with Danielle, who is now in the bottom right corner, who at the time was the assistant director of HR. She is now, or was when I left the system, the director of HR for Chester County Intermediate Unit. And Portia is cat a corner from me. She was one of the leaders in our system, and she was there as my neutral party that was providing me with support in helping me to advocate for myself. All right, here we go.
Are we okay to get into more of the findings then?
Sure.
And thank you for your statement. Would you be willing to share that with us, like the written copy of it?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. So what we found, all right, so what we found with regard to the launch course is that Dr. Weller's response.
So a reminder, so the launch course was a course that myself and all of my colleagues that were a part of this regional improvement team, that we had to go through in order to become certified school improvement specialists. This was the course that was run by 3 white women from Georgia. I will find the name of their company in just a little bit, and I'll be able to tell you, because you want to avoid them at all costs. 3 upper class, old white women from Georgia were sitting at the helm of this. And then everyone that they put in front of us was also an old white upper class woman from Georgia. So I had shared previously in parts 1 and 2 about how there were lots of microaggressions that were happening in that space. I shared how these glasses that I have on, these yellow glasses, I had stopped wearing those glasses because it brought too much attention to me, and they kept trying to reference my glasses, my hair, just the hyperfixation, the high visibility, the high scrutiny, like all of that. So I had brought those concerns to my supervisor, Jana, and now Danielle is going to tell us what they found.
To you that the trainers were Southern, devalued your concerns, that it made you feel, devalued, it maybe was not sensitive, and sorry, I lost my train of thought. She unintentionally, as we were talking about, was insensitive and didn't acknowledge your feelings or the perceptions of how you were feeling, or how the facilitators were making you feel. She was made aware. We did talk with her and shared with her that the reaction that her response created with you, and how it made you feel. And also she did communicate with the trainers about your concerns, but she never followed back up with you about it to let you know that she had done that. So so that's what we found with regard to that. Now,
but she did encourage you to respond with feedback, but again, to Danielle's point, she never followed up with you at the outcome of that conversation with the trainer.
Right.
And just for clarity, I have been responding with feedback the entire time. They used to give us an anonymous feedback form that we could provide feedback. The ladies never implemented the feedback, and it's basically because they didn't know how. They were not good presenters. They were not masters of their craft. They were a bunch of old white women that got together that decided that they wanted to get into the school improvement business, but they did not grasp or hold the capacity to be able to facilitate a system changing type of environment or a type of course. So I, from the feedback, was trying to guide them. Hence me bringing up things like equity of voice, or bringing up things like having a culture of cold calling is a very toxic culture, and it is not something that is affirming to adult learners or to anyone. So I had already given them feedback. Okay, and that had been happening the entire time.
Right. So, rather than putting the whole responsibility on you to share your feedback, she did share feedback, but she didn't let you know about that. So, so she acknowledges that was a mistake.
And for the record, I did share feedback on numerous occasions through our survey, so that I did uphold my part of sharing feedback, but you are correct. No, I did not get any feedback from her.
Okay. So now I know in your impact statement that you said that you don't want to do a mediation with her. We heard you say that. So what I've done is I've contacted the Center for Racial Healing in Florida.
So before they get into that, I want to remind you, so when HR Mary had gotten back to me, and that was somewhere around January 11th or January 8th, she said that the next step was to have a mediation with Jana. And I told them when I first reported in December that I did not want to do that. I do not want to share space with a person who is continuously traumatizing me. I reiterated that again on December 17th when Mary followed up to find out what I wanted to see happen. I told her the exact same thing again. Then on January 8th, when she communicated to me that the next step would be for me to have a mediation with Jana, even though I've already told you this a few times, I followed up with explaining why I didn't want that to happen. So I've said this many times up to this point.
And asked about having them act as a consultant for you and Dr. Weller. I've also contacted Dr. Whitaker from, the webinar the other day, as well as another local person. So
Dr. Whitaker, his name is Dr. Ron Whitaker, he did an address. So remember, all of this is happening right on the heels of the insurrection that happened on January 6th. And I shared how they handled all of this in part 3. So Dr. Whitaker actually had spoken. So again, remember this about the Martin Luther King holiday, like all of that, right? So we had the Department of Education hosted a webinar where Dr. Whitaker was speaking about race and things that have to do with race. And it was very compelling speech that he gave. And the people in our system tried to act like, ooh, yeah, like that was really good. But when it came to those accountability measures, that's not something that they would do. So that's who she's referencing, Dr. Whitaker.
HR wouldn't be involved in this. There would be a neutral party, because Dr. Weller's heart, it's similar to mine. I mean, her heart is in the right place. She would never want to hurt anybody.
Dr. Weller's heart is in the right place. So I want y'all to pay attention to this narrative like that they're creating, right? So I'm supposed to have empathy towards this woman that has been consistently launching microaggressive behavior, outright ignoring what I'm saying, outright devaluing what I'm saying. But I'm supposed to have sympathy because her heart is in the right place, right? And remember, last episode we talked about intention versus impact. So I cannot look inside somebody's brain or somebody's heart to determine what their intentions are. But Danielle wants me to know, just like hers, right? Just like her heart is in the right place, as well as Dr. Weller's heart. Who's Jonna? I'm gonna call her as Jonna. Jonna's heart is supposed to be in the right place, along with Danielle's heart, because they're really good people.
No matter what the situation. And I know that she is really anxious to learn more about how her actions unintentionally caused you to feel the way that you did. So we are going to engage somebody. I'm hoping it can be the consultant from the Center for Racial Healing. And so that, and I want that to happen relatively soon. So just so that you're aware of that plan.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
So I hear you saying that there's some educational opportunities that need to happen for Jonna, and you've engaged a third party. I am not understanding why I need to be present for her learning opportunity.
Because we also need you to understand, we need the two of you to understand each other. Like, you're right, we're not going to change your supervisor, but what we're doing is we're having Dr. O'Neill partner with Dr. Weller until the two of you are back to a point.
So again, Dr. O'Neill, what's that lady name? Noreen. So Noreen is Jonna's supervisor. So their fix for this is, Noreen is also a white lady. Okay, very much out of touch. Y'all will meet her. So their solution is for Noreen to manage me along with Jonna to help us to figure out how to work together. Okay.
Point where you can work together. We have to each learn how to get along with each other. And she needs education about, about statements. But you need to be there to validate your concerns, and you need to be there so that it helps her learn what she needs to learn in order to, adequately and support you in the ways that you need to be supported.
So my concern with that is it's putting the burden on my shoulders as the person who has been harmed to be the learning opportunity for her. And that is not my responsibility to help her to learn how she missed the mark, to learn how to be more culturally sensitive. That is not my responsibility to do that. So that is my reluctance, hesitance, whatever word we would like to insert here, of why I need to be there for her to learn. I do not have a problem getting along with anyone. So I don't want this to be the narrative that I am problematic, or I don't know how to have a collegial business interaction with a supervisor, because Jonna is not my colleague. She is a supervisor. So this I don't have a problem taking direction from a supervisor. What I have a problem with is bearing the burden of her learning that needs to happen.
So let me just ask you a question. If you're not part of these discussions, how are you going to know when you can trust Jonna again? Are you just, are you just going to say, oh, well, she completed a course, check, so now I can trust her again?
But even me being in the space, how would I know then that I could trust her. I don't think my presence or absence would provide an opportunity for me to be able to trust her. So I think that there is some foundational work that she needs to do that has nothing to do with me. So her misstep, mistake, whatever light word that we want to place on it, with the best intentions, with a very negative and maximum impact on me, that is hers to own. That is not mine to own. I did not do
I
that.
agree that
I did not look for that.
Okay, I agree that her professional development is hers to own, but the relationship is, every relationship has more than one person.
Correct.
So in order for that relationship to be one that can work as a supervisor and an employee, the two of you need to participate together so that you can together form a trusting relationship. I'm not asking you to be colleagues. I'm not asking you to be best friends. I'm just asking you to be able to work with your supervisor. And
I don't have a problem working with my supervisor. So with the language that I hear you using, and I do believe that words have power and they are very intentional. So the language that you are using is putting me, creating a narrative about me that I have a problem working with Jana, and that is not a fair narrative to create. I don't have a problem working with Jana. What I need Jana to do is to learn how to better work and serve and lead people who don't look like her, to be frank. So that is not me sharing a space and doing this with a third party. How is this different from mediation? How is this honoring that I've already stated? Me having to rehash all of the incidents that have happened is further traumatizing me. So if after she has done her work, if there are then opportunities to rebuild trust, I'm more than happy to do that. But I do not need to be a part of Jana's professional development.
So I'm sorry for how this is going to sound, but it sounds to me like you do not want to take any responsibility for having a relationship with your supervisor. That's how.
So I'm gonna pause right there, and I'm gonna ask y'all, what's your thing? Right? They came up with a solution about what should happen, and I need to learn how to work with my supervisor because clearly I'm the problem, right? Clearly I'm the problem that I notice that we don't know what equity means as a system. I'm saying we, but I'm gonna go ahead on and use intentional language. They don't know what equity means as a system. They are culturally incompetent, right? Both Mary and Danielle already shared, and y'all can go back and see that on parts 1, 2, and 3. Oh, I've got some learning to do. Oh my gosh, I don't know. These are HR professionals. I'm gonna remind you that HR Mary said that she's been in this position for 4 years. Boo, that's plenty of time for you to learn. Danielle, who has a Juris Doctorate and an educational doctorate and is the assistant director of HR, she started crying, y'all, in part 3 because she would never want to hurt anyone. And that heart is in the right place. So this ascribed ignorance and this ascribed best intentions, they just don't know, right? But they don't know because I am the problem. I need to learn how to get along with my supervisor. And it now sounds like I am not taking responsibility for the relationship that my supervisor broke with her culturally insensitive and incompetent behavior. But I am the problem. Let's go on.
Oh, that's what I'm hearing.
How did you hear that?
Because you said it's not my responsibility to have a good relationship with your supervisor.
I did not say that. And that's why I'm glad
that's
this is
what
recorded.
I heard.
I did not say that. I said it's not my responsibility.
Can you explain what you mean then?
Whenever you're ready.
Go ahead.
So at this point, I'm sick and tired of her sitting here cutting me off as I'm trying to talk in her incompetence, in her insensitivity, and her racism. I'm sick of it, and I already see what's happening. I also saw that Portia just made a face of, yeah, no, that's not what, no.
It is not my responsibility to own Jana's professional development in this area.
Correct. Agreed. Okay. But it is your responsibility as an employee to have a relationship with your supervisor, and a relationship is a two-way, two-part item. It can't just be one way. So I'm going to end this end this part of the conversation because I feel like we're going around and around in circles. But what I want you to know is that I will think about and talk about your position where you don't want to participate in consultation sessions, and I'll think about it and we'll consider it. But I can't give you an answer on that right now. Okay.
Sure. May I ask for clarity? How is consultation different from mediation?
Well, in mediation, you each have a point or a position that is opposite each other. And consultation, you both have the same goal and you're working toward it. So the goal that I see you working toward, and I would think in a consultation that you would work together even to choose the goal that you're working toward. That it would be to repair your relationship as supervisor and employee.
Am I allowed to ask a question?
Sure.
Clarify.
So before Portia jumps in to ask her clarifying question, I'm going to ask y'all again. What y'all think about Danielle's plan? And what y'all think about this whole consultation versus mediation situation? Clearly, Danielle thinks that I'm stupid and I don't know what the hell words mean. Because I definitely know that what she is referencing is a mediation. And I done already said I'm not doing that. And I even somewhere in one of these emails likened this to someone who had experienced some type of like sexual trauma, right? So let's say that there was a someone who violated somebody else in a sexual manner. So you're gonna arrange for them to be in the same room to do what? What is it that we're supposed to be doing here? Right? So it is the assigning of the innocence of Jana, right, in this position, the assigning of, she clearly didn't mean it, she had the best intentions, and now I am supposed to hold space for her to do some learning at my expense, because I have to recount the things that have happened to me and look at this woman who has tried to murder my spirit because I'm supposed to be sympathetic towards her. Why would I not? Why would I not want to be sympathetic towards someone who has traumatized me over and over again? Let's see what Portia has to add.
My understanding, because we keep talking about the relationship. Can we define what the expectation of what that is when we say the relationship that we're trying to repair between the supervisor and the employee?
So there should be a relationship of trust between a supervisor and an employee, or else the team, whether it's just a two-person team or a larger team, the team can't be as effective as they otherwise would be, because you're not working together, you're not working collaboratively. And that to me is the fundamental reason to rebuild trust and be able to work collaboratively for all those kids that you guys, all those scholars that you guys are supporting.
So, and the reason I'm asking this is because, like, to me, it feels, and I'm just going from my perspective, as if we're saying that the only way to build this relationship is by doing this consultation. And if Kimberlyn is not wanting to do that, then she's not taking responsibility, when it sounds as if we're telling her what she needs to do in order to take responsibility.
So could I ask what could you do, Kimberlyn, to help have more, or to gain more trust in Jana?
I think it begins with Jana learning more about how.
So let me pause here because I want to go back and talk about framing. And this is something that we often miss opportunities to correct, of how someone will center one person or one situation when they are not the party that should be centered, because they are not the party at fault. So here in this situation, she continues to center me. I am the one that does not want to rebuild this relationship, which I never said that. I am the one that, because I said I am not going to participate in this traumatic production that y'all have going, because all of this is about checking boxes any damn way. Y'all are not concerned with doing the right thing any damn way, else we wouldn't even be here. So y'all want me to participate in this performance act, and because I won't participate in the performance act, then I am clearly the problem. So something that I have a friend who does a really good job at this. She is extremely talented in recognizing when someone is centering the wrong person. And this is something that I've been really focused on and paying attention to the nuances, because words have power and words have intentionality. And it's something that I have not mastered, but I am becoming more aware of how things are framed and who is framed as the person responsible for whatever situation. So I noticed in this situation, they're continuing to frame me. I'm responsible for doing this. I need to learn how to work with my supervisor. Jana, however, is, it was a mistake. She has the best intentions. She has a pure heart, all of that, just like Danielle. Just like Danielle. She's got such a pure heart. Okay. But I am the issue, because I said I am not going to allow you all to place me into a situation where I am being further traumatized for your performative act. But I'm the problem. Let me back up this a little bit.
The team can't be as effective as they otherwise would be, because you're not working together, you're not working collaboratively. And that to me is the fundamental reason to rebuild trust and be able to work collaboratively for all those kids that you guys, all those scholars that you guys are supporting.
Now she care about the kids.
And the reason I'm asking this is because, like, to me, it feels, and I'm just going from my perspective, as if we're saying that the only way to build this relationship is by doing this consultation. And if Kimberlyn is not wanting to do that, then she's not taking responsibility, when it sounds as if we're telling her what she needs to do in order to take responsibility.
So could I ask what could you do, Kimberlyn, to help have more, or to gain more trust in Jana?
I think it begins with Jana learning more about how she breached the trust in our relationship, not Kimberlyn. She did. Okay. She needs to do that prior to then trying to reestablish trust. So if we put this in a context of a student, if a student has made an error and then I just try to move past that without fixing the error, we're going to be in the same place. And what you are presenting to me is that she needs to get professional development or what have you on her actions and understanding of what occurred. And I need to be present for that. I don't need to be present for that. That is for her to do.
Okay.
Then after she does that, I am more than willing to have conversations, whatever. Again, I am not adverse to working with anyone at any time.
So just so I'm clear, so you wouldn't be adverse if Jonna came to you someday and said, "Hey, look, I want to. I've learned, I've gone through this training. I've self-reflected. I would like to have a conversation with you. Would you be open to that?"
After she's gone through and demonstrated understanding, sure, I have no problem with that.
How is it? Help me understand demonstrating understanding. If you're not part of the training, how is she going to demonstrate to you she's coming away from this professional development with understanding?
Keep in mind, before I answer that, I'm going to tell y'all again. HR Mary, been in the game for 4 years. Danielle, Juris Doctorate, EDD, is the assistant director, later promoted to the director of human resources. And y'all can't figure out how somebody should demonstrate understanding? Is that not what y'all do? Am I tripping? Y'all let me know. Y'all let me know in the comments if I'm tripping.
I'm sure certain ways, but one example could be an actual apology in what has been done. I understand and own that this is how I damaged the relationship that we had, how I breached your trust. That's one way to demonstrate understanding.
And that never happened, by the way. There was no apology. There was no rectifying the situation. Spoiler alert.
Can I jump in here too? I'm not really sure of all of the actions that may have happened, or if it's just stemming from this one thing. But I think also the way, like, moving forward and whatever actions that caused this breach no longer continue, which I think is one of the things that I heard Kimberlyn say. Like, I was putting myself in the supervisory role, in the way that you build trust is through consistent and repeated actions. So,
agreed.
If there are things that have been happening that, again, I don't know what all of those things are, but that is another way that, people build it up, and I'll use myself as an example.
So before she goes there, again, what Portia said is consistent and repeated action. You know what consistent and repeated actions they did? Kimberly, you're the issue. We're going to create a narrative about you. We're going to make you the angry Black woman. I'm about to find this graphic that I'm going to share with y'all in just a little bit about how this cycle that happens over and over and over and over again. All right, folks. So here's the graphic that I was referencing. If you are not familiar with this graphic, it would be in your best interest to get really familiar with this graphic, because it is applicable to almost every woman of color's journey through any type of organization, no matter what the content area is or the field. If that organization operates out of white supremacist behavior, this is the trajectory of a woman of color. So we start out with a woman of color entering the organization on the top left, and she enters the honeymoon phase. So the woman of color feels welcomed, needed, and happy. White leadership is positioning themselves to tokenize that woman of color. However, basically fulfilling a diversity hire, or just fulfilling some type of DEI initiative or something of that nature. Well, then reality starts to set in for that woman of color, and she starts to point out issues that are happening within the organization. She tries to work within the organization structure and policies in order to push for accountability and for change, to do something to make a difference. Unfortunately, that is met by white leadership with repetitive injury and microaggressions. From there, we move on to the denial of racism by white leadership. Also, the white leadership decides that they're going to respond by denying, ignoring, and blaming the woman of color. that the responsibility of fixing the problem falls on the woman of color's shoulders, and they also will pit people of color against each other. This is the phase that we are in right now, as you all are following this journey. So I have already realized that things are not right. I've reported that, and now they're giving me their response with this textbook example of everything that is listed here, denying the racism and ascribing best intentions to the abuser and to the person causing harm, outright ignoring and blaming, right? So I've talked a lot about framing and how they continue to try to frame me as the issue. I have to learn how to be supervised. I have to learn how to get along with my supervisor, not placing the responsibility in the hands of the person who committed the fault. Also, placing the responsibility of fixing the problem on the woman of color. So they are telling me that I need to attend this mediation that they're trying to wrap up in a consultation and put in a pretty bow. So they're trying to make me responsible for my supervisor's professional development. They tried to make me responsible for the diversity, equity, and inclusion initiative, right? So I had already been meeting with professionals to try to resolve this problem. So basically their response is to put everything onto the woman of color. Well, then, along with that response, retaliation comes soon after. So the organization decides that the woman of color is the problem and begins to target and attack. That is where the story is going. Spoiler alert. So you will see what that looks like. The organization labels the conflict as a communication issue. You've heard Danielle say that many times and characterize the things that Jana has done that has had incredible harm and trauma launched against me, characterized as a communication issue. Or they claim that the woman of color is not a good fit, and that also was happening, especially at one of the schools, in particular, Penwood Middle School, that I was working at. So once all of that happens, the target and attacks continue. The woman of color soon exits the organization. So again, this does not matter what line of work you are in, what field, it doesn't matter. If your organization subscribes to white supremacist culture and white supremacist beliefs, this is what you will see and what you will experience. So let's jump back in and continue watching our video.
Sneaking out of the house at 16, you know, my mom didn't immediately forgive me after that punishment that I had.
Right.
You know,
Right. No, agreed.
It
well,
took
because you have to establish.
It's the cutting off for me. It's the cutting off for me. It's the cutting off of thinking that what you have to say is so much more important than these black women that are sitting here. Portia was talking. Why are you talking, HR Mary? Why are you talking, Danielle? We are trying to communicate and get to resolution. Why are y'all
establish the trust?
Right.
And that's not just going to happen because Jana goes through a training. It's going to be little by little. And it's just the same thing with any relationship. When you're building that trust back, it's just going to be interaction after interaction and having the open communication. Like Danielle's my supervisor, and if she sends me a one-word text and I have no idea what the meaning is, I need to communicate with her. I have no idea what you're saying, but this is how it made me feel. So it is an ongoing. It's not going to happen. Just Jana's going to be healed.
Right.
And
it
be
isn't.
that supervisor that Kimberlyn needs to be in order for her to feel safe to do her work.
Yeah, and I, again, using the same analogy, being the person that snuck out the window, I also couldn't tell my mom,
Portia,
here's what you need to do as my parent in order for me to feel like you have responsibility for me not sneaking out of the window.
Yeah, well, sometimes, I'm not trying to argue. Sometimes parents and kids do go to a counselor to get to repair their relationship. So it's not that far fetched, but thank you. I appreciate your point of view. And as I said, let us think about it. Okay. You've brought up some great points. And again, I'm learning. We're learning.
She's learning, y'all. She's learning. But she is the assistant director, later promoted to the director of HR with the Juris Doctorate and the educational doctorate. But she's learning. She's learning. Again, I need to be able to give grace because they are learning. And I'm supposed to let them learn on my trauma. I'm supposed to let myself continue to be exposed to all of this trauma so they can learn because they are who is important, not me.
So, okay. Anything else on the launch training before we move on to some of the other things?
No.
Okay. So, with regard to your 90-day performance evaluation, that was originally due, I believe, December 30th, and it was postponed to January 30th just because of everything that was happening. I understand that you felt that Dr. Weller was treating you differently by asking you to put documents in your Trello board as evidence for your 90-day review. We did investigate that, and everyone who has a 90-day review is asked to put documents in their Trello board. It's not a requirement. It's just like, hey, you want to show me some of the good stuff you're doing, this is where you do it.
So I'm gonna go back to framing, and you can hear me talk about this in parts 1 and 2 of what specifically happened with this 90-day evaluation situation. But the framing of the email that I got, and I can actually, let me pull up the email because I want to be intentional, y'all. I don't want to be accused of lying. Let me see if I can find that email. Give me a second, y'all. Because the email says something to the effect of, you have to place documents in the Trello board. And I read the email in the original communication that I had with these people. I read the email when I originally reported this instance, and I read the language that was used. So
There was another situation, so this is more recently with the 90-day review process, where I received, so I was privy to an informal conversation about 90-day reviews. Some colleagues were talking about theirs were coming up, and someone said, oh, my 90-day review is coming up. So then the other one says, oh, I just had mine. It's totally cool. You don't have to, prepare for anything, like, it's really informal. It'd be great. Oh, so I don't have to have anything? No, you just show up, you have your conversation, and it was really easy. Okay, so I know that mine is going to be coming up. So sure enough, I get my invitation on December 2nd to have my 90-day review. Well, I had my goal setting meeting on September 11th, and during that goal setting meeting, we did not choose a goal. So I wasn't really sure what is being reviewed, because I remember in that meeting, we didn't set a goal. And then she basically said, we'll come back to do this. But then we started, quote unquote, the work. And now there's been no goal. Like, we haven't come back to talk about this goal. So I sent an email. Well, let me say what her email said first. So her email said, Kimberlyn, your 90th workday will be December 30th. At this meeting, we will discuss your 90-day review. Please come prepared with any supporting artifacts and examples that you'd like to share posted on your Trello board. So I responded and, said I need to gain clarity because we didn't set a goal on September 11th. So I'm confused as to what I am coming prepared with artifacts about if we didn't set a goal. Then there were 4 goals that she did share that we collectively have as a team, and those goals had changed from what she had showed me on September 11th. So I had questions about that. I'm like, you said that there were going to be these 4 goals. However, there are 2 new goals that are here in place of 2 others. When did that happen? Because on September 11th, these were the other goals. And then there were some indicators of success that aren't applicable to me. So I had questions about that. Like, so this says, for instance, turning in a monthly report on time. Like, that's not something that I do. So what evidence am I supposed to have? That's basically my overarching question. So after sending in my questions to her, her response was, the 90-day review is an opportunity for us to discuss the ways in which you've been meeting expectations within those areas. So she highlighted that it's the aqua and green columns that I should review, which are not situated in the goal. So then she said, you might consider this to be your digital portfolio highlighting your work. There is no requirement for any specific number of items to add. In fact, you don't have to add anything at all if you prefer to just talk about it. However, most people have appreciated having a space to highlight and reflect on their efforts thus far. So then I think to myself, if it wasn't a requirement for me to have anything on the Trello board, why did the original email say you need to have prepared documentation on the Trello board?
About it. Now, this is something else I'm going to remind you of, is that emails are public record. They can be requested. So we can see what emails were sent and how those emails were worded to other people. That is very possible to do. So I guess we'll get on that.
But everyone has been asked to do that.
That wasn't stated that way in the original email. So that was stated after clarification, after I asked for it. But the original email did not say, this is up to you. If you want to do this, it's totally optional or anything of that nature. It said, place your documentation here.
Okay. Okay. So again, we have a communication concern, and the impact on how it made you feel.
Correct.
Right. So again, it's going to go back to the professional development that we were talking about. And as I mentioned, Dr. O'Neill, who is Dr. Weller's supervisor, is going to partner with Dr. Weller to supervise you. And until the relationship is on better footing, I'm not sure how to characterize it, until there's trust again. So Dr. O'Neill will be with Dr. Weller for your 90-day evaluation, which will occur. It has to occur just because we've already postponed it. It has to occur before January 29th. And it's not like none of this has anything to do with your evaluation. Okay? Like, I want to make sure you understand that.
I hear that. I do not know that that's going to be the truth. But I do hear that. And I also hear another imbalance of power dynamic, that now my supervisor and my supervisor's supervisor will be doing my evaluation. My supervisor that I have submitted a complaint on, and now my supervisor's supervisor will be there. This does not bring me any type of comfort.
Well, somebody who's in a supervisory role has to do your evaluation.
I understand.
So what would you suggest?
What are my options?
Your options are to have Dr. Weller, or to have Dr. Weller and Dr. O'Neill, and you can have somebody with you as well if that would help you feel safe.
And where are we in the follow-up of what Rosemary Hughes suggested in having me to be employed by a different IU?
That's not on the table right now.
So So let me refresh your memory. In part 3, I discussed how I had spoken with Rosemary Hughes, who was the federally designated representative for school improvement. And Rosemary, so she was basically the person in Pennsylvania Department of Education that we were doing this work with, right? So it was like Pennsylvania Department of Education contracted out this work, and that's how our school improvement system got created. So Rosemary said, why they can't just put you with another IU? Why are they trying to make you stay there? Like there are several IUs that are involved in this situation. Why can't they just put you there? So when I asked, well, where are we with that? Danielle said, that's not on the table. Why would NASA allow me to go to another place where I actually might receive the type of treatment that I actually deserve, as opposed to this trauma that y'all keep trying to expose me to? Why would NASA allow that to happen?
I mean, if, that would be something that would have to be up to you. Like we are happy with your work. Your work is excellent. So,
did we hear that? They are happy with my work. My work is excellent. They are happy with my work. My work is excellent.
Your work is excellent. So, what? I mean, if, that would be something that would have to be up to you. Like we are happy with your work. Your work is excellent. So, why would we tell you to go to a different place? And your work is critical to the work, to the progress of the students.
Yes, I understand and I agree with those statements. I do excellent work and I do very impactful work. However, it seems that I am limited in my ability to be free from a hostile work environment.
Well, I guess I have to understand, is there ever a situation where a supervisor could evaluate you and it not be considered hostile?
So again, I'm gonna let y'all hear that again. But the framing is me. Is there ever a situation where a supervisor could evaluate me and it not be considered hostile? Because clearly I'm the problem, y'all. Clearly I'm the problem.
I'm
Yes,
trying to.
If it's not linked to Jana, it could absolutely be considered not hostile.
Well,
I'm so sorry that I have so many questions.
No,
just for
it's
my
okay.
clarification and understanding, Danielle, you said that Kimberly's evaluation has to be done by someone who is supervising. So I guess my question is, like, does that mean someone from CCIU, or when you say because we have 4 partner IUs,
Right.
is there an option for another supervisor from a different IU, partner IU, not any IU, to be a part of the evaluation?
Well, I believe Jana has reached out to the other members that have insight to Kimberly's work, so in order to create that 90-day review. It's just that
it's not done in isolation.
Looks for input, right?
Keep in mind that what the hell I do or what I was doing at the time. She has zero understanding of what I did regarding the equity work that I was doing with school. So it was not necessary for her to be there to evaluate the damn thing, because she don't even know what the hell I did. Whereas somebody like Portia was very familiar with what I did, because Portia was sometimes in those spaces. Jana was not.
So, but I mean,
So I guess my wondering is, if it's collaborative, why does that meeting have to happen with Jana and I when trust, again, has been breached? There's been evidence of a hostile work environment. Why, for instance, couldn't that be given to Portia? She's a supervisor. Kristen, she's a supervisor. Why is the situation that Jana has to do it?
because
Also, go ahead.
I was just going to say, because Portia and Kristen are not employees of the CCIU. So like it's you're an employee of the CCIU. If you were an employee of IU 13, then, Kristen could absolutely do your evaluation.
So is Dr.
And it fell out of my
able
head.
to do my evaluation?
Pardon me?
Is Dr. O'Neill able to do my evaluation?
Yes, in conjunction with all the evidence that, has been gathered through collaboration with all of the other people involved.
Correct. So wouldn't that just be given to Dr. O'Neill, whatever the documentation, the collaborative documents are? Why could that not just be conducted with myself and Dr. O'Neill?
Because your supervisor is Dr. Weller, and she needs to find a way to supervise you in a way that does not devalue you. And by partnering with Dr. O'Neill, she will participate in the supervisory session, in the evaluation session, in the evaluation conference, sorry.
So let me just pause there for a second. So what I am trying to understand in this moment is why Jana has to be in this stage. They're saying, oh, well, Jana got input from all these other people to know how you're doing, because again, she had no idea what the hell I did. So if she got input from other people, clearly her name is on the paper as supervisor, but what does she need to be there for if her information that she is getting is coming from everybody else? And why can't that be done by Noreen? Because she's my supervisor. And they made that very clear. She is a supervisor. She's going to be the supervisor. Period, point blank. She's going to be my supervisor. Period, point blank. Let me back it up just a little bit.
Dr. O'Neill able to do my evaluation?
Pardon me?
Is Dr. O'Neill?
Kristen are not employees of the CCIU. So like it's you're an employee of the CCIU. If you were an employee of IU 13, then, Kristen could absolutely do your evaluation.
So is Dr. O'Neill able to do my evaluation?
Pardon me?
Is Dr. O'Neill able to do my evaluation?
Yes, in conjunction with all the evidence that, has been gathered through collaboration with all of the other people involved.
Correct. So wouldn't that just be given to Dr. O'Neill, whatever the documentation, the collaborative documents are? Why could that not just be conducted with myself and Dr. O'Neill?
Because your supervisor is Dr. Weller, and she needs to find a way to supervise you in a way that does not devalue you. And by partnering with Dr. O'Neill, she will participate in the supervisory session, in the evaluation session, in the evaluation conference, sorry. But Dr. O'Neill will be the one who has the final say over, what evaluation rating that you would get. And, as I said, and I know you don't believe it, but, you will not be retaliated against in your evaluation by bringing these claims. This is a totally separate thing. I mean, we have policies against that. And I know you had trouble getting the policies, and that's because we were in the middle of, they're actually, the new ones are up for board approval. So that's why the old ones were not so great. But
so I still ain't never get no policy. The thing, I still ain't never get no policy. The policies never got approved. They were never sent. I still ain't never get no policy. And also, they're trying to censure me once more so that Jana can learn how to be a supervisor. So she needs to be in this phase so that I can show her how she should supervise me. Or so Noreen. So Noreen can show her how to supervise me. You said not so great, but should still be, the policies. Yeah, they're not so great, but they should still be available. Yeah. But it wasn't none. It wasn't none. I'm gonna keep playing it. I'm gonna look and see if they got policies up there now.
So what I hear you saying is we want or need Jana to participate in a professional development series, course, whatever, experience to be able to understand how she has created this dynamic. In the meantime, and before that, without that professional development, we're
not
still
necessarily
going to have her be present, or without it being completed, with it being wherever it is in the process, that we are still going to, without having repaired any trust, without having completed whatever professional development, we are still going to have her do your evaluation. Dr. O'Neill will be the one putting it in, but we still need her to be there. Do we not see how that puts me in a situation of, I have experienced a traumatic series of situations, but still be there with that person because this other person is going to be the one putting it in? Then why do we need her to be there? Why do I have to bear the burden of her learning experience, of learning how to supervise me? That is not my job, and it is further devaluing what I am saying to you and what has been created. I can meet with Dr. O'Neill. She will have everything that she needs to have. My evaluation can be done, which, by the way, I never asked for it to be delayed. I simply
no, we understand that,
and I just need the record to reflect it. So I don't understand if a supervisor needs to do it. Dr. O'Neill is a supervisor. Kimberlyn and Dr. O'Neill meet with these documents. She's the one who's deciding anyway. Here we are. I don't understand why you are not listening to what I'm saying or not receiving what I'm saying and still saying that Jana.
And what I should have said is why you were trying to force me into this space with a person that has been launching trauma against me. That's what I should have said, because that's what's happening.
Needs to be a part of this experience to learn how to supervise me. I am not hard to supervise. I am not the issue here.
We're not saying that.
But the wording and what you're saying, in that I have to bear the responsibility again of Jana's professional missteps because of this situation. Can I not just meet with Dr. O'Neill and she do my evaluation?
So, okay, first I have to say one thing, and I heard you characterize the situation as a hostile work environment.
That is correct.
That is not, the findings of this investigation do not have this rising to the level of a hostile work environment.
She said the environment ain't hostile, yo. It's not hostile. So I want to read to you the definition of hostile work environment. So it falls under harassment. Some of the verbiage here says the conduct is severe or pervasive enough to create a work environment that a reasonable person would consider intimidating, hostile, or abusive. To be unlawful, the conduct must create a work environment that would be intimidating, hostile, or offensive. Offensive conduct may include, but is not limited to, offensive jokes, slurs, epithets, or name calling, physical assaults or threats, intimidation, hello, ridicule or mockery, insults or put downs, offensive objects or pictures, and interference with work performance. The harasser can be the victim's supervisor or a supervisor in another area. Hostile work environment is defined as an environment where there is a pervasive and continuing behavior and or policies that impede someone's ability to perform their job because of the level of hostility and discomfort. Their findings show that this is not a hostile work environment.
What we find is that Dr. Weller had some missteps, and she is going to take some action to correct
missteps. Y'all see how light that is? As opposed to Dr. Weller has been causing you consistent and repeated trauma. She's had some missteps. Because again, the narrative is that she just didn't know any better. She just didn't know any better. And her heart is in the right place. But she just didn't know any better. I also want to take a moment to show you all this discrimination complaint procedure that I pulled up over here. And as you may be able to see, let me zoom in. Do you all see the date on this? This is what I just pulled up on their website, like just now. August 14th, 2020. I told y'all I started working with this company on August 20th. This meeting is taking place on January 15th, but the policy is supposed to be up at the school board, getting approved. This discrimination complaint procedure also is centered on children. So let me go down. A student or individual who believes they have been subject to discrimination by any student, employee, or third party is encouraged to immediately report the incident to the building administrator or program supervisor using the particular form or by making a general report verbally or in writing to the building administrator or program supervisor. Parents or guardians of students have the right to act on behalf of the complainant, blah, blah, blah. Any person with knowledge of discrimination in violation of board policy or this procedure is encouraged to immediately report the matter to the building administrator or the program supervisor. A school employee who suspects or is notified that a student has been subject to discrimination shall immediately report the incident to the building administrator or program supervisor. Additionally, employees who have reasonable cause to suspect that a child is a victim of child abuse shall immediately report the suspected abuse. This is about children. If a child feels like there has been some type of violation, there is no policy that is on their website about what happens if an employee feels that there has been some type of discrimination to this day.
the environment does not rise to the level of a hostile environment. So I just need to ask that we be careful with our language.
And I understand and I hear you, but the
Mhm.
impact has created a supreme amount of trauma for me. So I'm not going to be able to pretend that it was a simple misstep, because the misstep has had enormous and egregious impact on me. So whatever term that we want to apply to it, I do need it to be understood that the impact has been severely negative. Severely.
I
Not just a little
understand.
bit.
Yes.
Okay.
I understand the impact it's had on you. I just want to be sure that we're using the right term.
Okay.
So, okay.
So back to my question, why can Dr. O'Neill not do my evaluation?
She can do your evaluation. The question is, and again, it's something else I'm going to have to think about, whether Dr. Weller should or should not be present. So I'm going to add that to my list of things that I'm going to consider. That's the best I can give you right now. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. The next thing under your concerns with Dr. Weller was the roll-alike meeting on November 9th, where Dr. Weller arrived after the meeting had already started, and you didn't want to let her in, and then
Framing again. So that's not what happened. It was not about me not wanting to let her in. It was that me and my teammates decided prior to her uninvited arrival that we were not just going to allow people to pop into our meetings just because they showed up to the meeting if we did not have prior notification or any understanding of why they might be in the meeting. But you can see that in part 1 and 2.
you did let her in.
Can we clarify what that means? Because I didn't want to let her in. That's not clarifying or characterizing that appropriately.
So what happened? You were having your role-like meeting and she came into the waiting room and
That's
you wanted
correct.
to finish your conversation.
Not me, the team.
The team wanted to finish their conversation. However, the members of the team kept saying, let her in, let her in. And you said, let's wait till we finish our conversation because these are the norms that have been established.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. So you did let Dr. Weller in, and but the thing that we learned during this investigation is that Dr. Weller has a standing time to join your meeting at a scheduled standing time. Are you saying that she does not have a standing time?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
That's what you're saying?
She does not have a standing time to join our meeting. That is not true.
Okay, because she showed us calendar records where she does. So
that state that she has a standing time to join our meeting, or that she has determined that she has a standing time?
I believe it was that she had the time with the teams. Teams know to expect that.
That is incorrect. That was never communicated to our team. So what I have come to understand is that in some teams that she will join for the last 15 minutes. That was never communicated to our team. Our team gave her understanding of when we meet, the same way Portia understands when we meet, or any of our other supervisors. But no, there was not a standard time established that she is to join at whatever time. That is absolutely incorrect.
Okay, so that seems like a communication question that we need to look into.
She keeps framing things as communication issues and communication questions. These are what are called lies. They are lies, falsehoods, untruth, inaccuracy, lies. Lies. She never had a time to meet with us. We established a time, and I told y'all about that in previous videos. My team and I established a time that we were going to meet, but no, she did not have an established time to meet. A lie.
So if she does have a standing time, we need to let her in.
I just told you that was a lie. So it's not if she has it, she don't. She didn't have one. That wasn't established. That was not communicated. Now she decided in her own mind that she wanted to pop in that particular day, which is exactly what happened. But no, she didn't have a standing time. It's a lie.
Even if she doesn't have a standing time, when like when your supervisor says they're ready to come into a meeting, at least you can communicate and say, we're in the middle of a discussion, we'll be right with you. But you have to communicate with your supervisor about, you can't just let them sit for however long. Was it 5 or 7 minutes? I don't remember
It was approximately 5 minutes. And I will say it again, the reason that I am the person that is on the hook here for this is because it was in my room. But the team decided that we did not want to let people into meetings at any time, which goes back to what we were discussing earlier about the unofficial norms that have been set up of team members just showing up when they feel like it and what have you. So we, as a team, had a discussion about the norms that we were going to place around our work. This was not a Kimberlyn idea, and this was not Kimberlyn decided not to let her in. This is as a team, we were trying to honor our norms. So then in that, me being norm keeper, we just said in our norms that we are going to finish conversation if we are having that, and we aren't just going to let people in if they show up. So that was my role. So then we went on to finish our conversation, and then the team said, well, maybe we should let her in. I gave them hosting and co-hosting privileges, and they let her in.
And where did you go?
I was there. What do you mean, where did I go?
Well, why did you give them privileges? Why didn't you just let her in?
Because it's a team decision. This is not my decision. So if they want to let her in, then they can let her in. But we had just set in our norms what we were going to do. So I felt that it would be unilateral if I just said yes or no. Here, you all have hosting and co-hosting privileges. If you would like to let her in as a team, then that's what we'll do. And that's what we did.
Okay. Great. Thank you for clarifying that.
My pleasure.
All right.
But going back to what she said about if your supervisor shows up to a meeting, you're supposed to let them in. So mind you, we were working virtually. And I have been in this working game since the age of 16. I have never been in a meeting with a colleague and my supervisor just decides that they're going to burst into the room because they felt like it. Nope. So if my supervisor wanted to have some time to discuss something, they would reach out, hey, I want to talk to you about XYZ. Is that going to be a good time? Should we schedule a different time? Blah, 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 right? Just respect as a professional, right? But not in this situation. Oh, they definitely know they're wrong. And they're gonna know they even more wrong after these videos get published. Because now the whole story is together. They definitely know they wrong.
Mary, did we miss anything?
The only thing we didn't talk about, and I might not have the dates completely correct, but it was a pre-meeting that was scheduled with the Roll-alike team to review the agenda of the 11/6 statewide meeting.
Right.
And that she put a time on the calendar to meet for the Roll-alike meeting to meet before the meeting.
Right. Let me go to those notes. So, as I understand it, Dr. Weller put an invite on your calendars for November 6th. and didn't tell you what the meeting was about. So you didn't know. And then at the meeting on the 6th, you perceived that 3 visions were portrayed. Dr. Weller's vision, leadership's vision, and Dr. Hughes and Dr. Leewald's vision. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's accurate.
Okay. And so I understand how putting the meeting on your calendars created that sense of insecurity because you didn't know what it was for. Again, I said we looked at Dr. Weller's calendar, and she had no such meeting on her calendar. And she did share the PowerPoint with us that she reviewed with the later meeting. And we didn't see the 3 visions. So I guess I'm just a little confused. What 3 visions and where that would have happened.
So you're looking for clarity there?
Yes.
Okay. So she asked to meet with us prior to the meeting, and I don't have my calendar sitting here in front of me with all of my emails pulled.
No worries, Kimberlyn from 2020. I got you. So I am going to pull up the meeting that for some reason Jonna couldn't find. She didn't know. I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea what is happening. So let me go ahead on and pull this up so that y'all can see, right? Because as my good friend Bianca says, people lie, receipts don't. And I believe in having receipts. So I luckily had the foresight to take a screenshot of calendar invite. Let me zoom in for y'all, just to make sure that everybody can see what's going on here. Okay. All right. So y'all see this? This is November 5th, 2020, from 3 to 3:45. A calendar invite was put here for statewide specialists and Jonna. The topic: preview of Friday's team meeting agenda. Do y'all see that? My teammates are over here on this calendar invite. Jonna is the organizer. Do y'all see that? Make snitching great again. Oh, I'm snitching, all right. Because y'all got me effed up. Y'all really, really, really have me effed up. So I also want to share with you the email exchange that we had, because when this calendar invite got put onto our calendar, we had no idea what it was for. Okay? So I also, let me see, I got some text messages here, honey, everything. So here are some text messages that happened on November 4th. I wonder what, and I'm not going to show it just because I want to protect people's phone numbers and all that kind of stuff. But I'm gonna read to you what it says, and just know that after I redact all this information, that y'all gonna see. One of my teammates says, "I wonder what Jonna wants to meet about. Invite to us for tomorrow from 3 to 3:45." Another colleague: "I had the same thought. Are we in trouble?" Colleague: "Yeah, I don't know why I feel so worried. I asked in my response. I said, I wonder the same." So then we reached out to find out exactly what it was that she wanted. Okay? See, this is why you have to be intentional about making sure that you document. Because folks will lie. They will lie. Okay, so let me get my screen back up here. Wednesday, November 4th at 1:27 p.m. I sent an email to Jonna. Hi, Jonna. What should we be prepared to discuss during this time? But mind you, according to Jonna, this never happened. There was no calendar invite. There was no pre-meeting. There was none of this. Okay. So it's right here though. And again, I'm going to say again, that email is a public record. Hi, Jonna. What should we be prepared to discuss during this time? So I told y'all I emailed her Wednesday, November 4th at 1:27. She put the calendar invite onto our calendar for that next day, that Thursday, before we had this Friday all-team meeting on November 6th. And that's why I shared in the previous video where we found out we had a new team member and nobody ever introduced her. Okay? Wednesday, November 4th, 10:08 p.m. Hi, Kimberland. I just wanted to share with you all a preview of Friday's team meeting agenda. Looking forward to seeing you. But Donna said it didn't happen. There was no meeting. It didn't happen. But here's the invite in the email thread. But it didn't happen. Okay?
An invite on your calendars for November 6th and didn't tell you what the meeting was about. So you didn't know. And then at the meeting on the 6th, you perceived that 3 visions were portrayed. Dr. Weller's vision, leadership's vision, and Dr. Hughes and Dr. Leewald's vision. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's accurate.
Okay. And so I understand how putting the meeting on your calendars created that sense of insecurity because you didn't know what it was for. Again, I said we looked at Dr. Weller's calendar and she had no such meeting on her calendar. And she did share the PowerPoint with us that she reviewed with the later meeting. And we didn't see the 3 visions. So I guess I'm just a little confused. What 3 visions and where that would have happened.
So you're looking for clarity there?
Yes.
Okay. So she asked to meet with us prior to the meeting, and I don't have my calendar sitting here in front of me with all of my emails pulled up. That's something I could have had. Nonetheless, she asked to meet with the 4 of us to go over the, after asking for clarification. She explained that she wanted to go over what would be discussed in the Friday roll-alike meeting. She shared with us in that meeting that her vision for what she wanted to see happen. We had no understanding of anything else that would happen in the meeting. We simply went with what we were told. Upon entering into the meeting, it became clear that she was attempting to use us to help to facilitate her vision of coming forth. So she had given us this insight ahead of time so that we could ask questions, make comments or whatever in the direction of where she was going. Rosemary and Kristen were also present in that meeting. And there was a point in that meeting where there was a full stop where they not necessarily took over the meeting, but took over the meeting to ask some questions. It was very clear that Portia and the regional leads had somewhere that they thought that the meeting was going. So when I referenced 3 different visions, there's no way for that to be indicated on a calendar. There's no way.
Well, on the PowerPoint, I guess that's
you would have had to be present in the meeting.
So it was more
privy to
the discussion,
to the prior meeting.
Gotcha.
understand why I said that there were 3 visions. There's no way to encapsulate that by looking at a PowerPoint or looking at a calendar invite. Nonetheless, it was inappropriate, in my opinion, for Jonna to come to us as a statewide team to give us a preview without consulting her colleagues that she had planned this meeting with to ensure that they were on the same page. That is inappropriate. That felt like we were being used in order to execute her vision, and I don't appreciate that.
So when you went to the meeting and the meeting had started, Jonna called upon you and your colleagues to kind of further or support her and what she felt the agenda or her vision is for the meeting.
Not explicitly during the meeting, no, but prior to the meeting. That was what was communicated.
Because I understood you just say that during the meeting she called upon you. Okay.
No, in the meeting prior to that she had with just the 4 of us, she said, this is what we want to get out of the meeting. This is where we're going with the meeting. This is, what I'm hoping will happen, what have you, whatever. Nobody else, as far as I know, was privy to this information. When entering into the meeting, it became very clear that she had one direction that she wanted to go. The leadership team had another direction that they wanted to go. And as evidenced by Rosemary and Kristen completely taking over the meeting and saying, let's stop right here, where that Friday meeting then continued into a Monday meeting for us to talk about more things, it became very evident that we had been put in a position by Jonna, because she scheduled that preview meeting, for us to help support her vision. We didn't know whose vision it was. We thought, okay, I guess we
it was just going to be
about
the tone of the meeting, right?
Okay. We have no idea.
Portia, were you at that same meeting?
I was at the meeting, and I was actually trying to go through, if I recall, remembering what happened at this meeting. So I don't want to speak to it until I can pull it up, but I do remember the meeting from which she is speaking, and there was some pre-planning without engaging at least the statewide team on what the vision of the meeting was.
Okay.
So let's sum all of that up about this damn meeting. So basically, Jonna scheduled a meeting with me and my 3 other colleagues to try to get us to support her vision or whatever the hell it was that she called herself trying to direct this ship, right? Portia and the regional lead had already met with Jonna to determine where this meeting was gonna go, right? So Jonna departed from that, decided she was going to enlist us to help with this meeting. Then Rosemary and Kristen, who I've told you all are the leaders of this system, they had another vision that they wanted. So they basically took over the meeting, stopped the meeting, and was like, we gonna do this. And that's how we wound up having this Friday, November 6th meeting, and this Monday, November 9th meeting. Again, these are the same meetings that I referenced in videos 1 and 2, where I mentioned that we had an entire colleague who was new to the team that is a Black woman that nobody thought was important to introduce her on either of those occasions. Okay? So it was a lot that was happening around this time. Oh, I also I pulled up a couple of text messages that I had over here while we were in the meeting. So this is between me and my colleague. One of my colleagues says, oh no, this is a slippery slope. I say, I don't like the direction this is heading. The colleague says, now we could have 94 different ways of doing something. This is why we are a mess. So we had just taken a poll in that meeting, and we were supposed to determine whether we thought that our group, our system, was storming, forming, or norming, right? So storming basically means that it's just in chaos. Everything is all over the place. Forming means that we're kind of getting somewhere. Norming means we're good to go. We have everything, and we've created norms of work, right? So we did this poll. I say, did you see the poll results? The majority of us feel we are forming and storming. I feel like an armchair quarterback right now, having insight into where we want to go with this and what we want to get accomplished. One of my colleagues says, yeah, but I sincerely believe some of this is to open the eyes of our higher ups. Again, Rosemary and Kristen. So we're kind of steering the car. And we are 3 months into the work with our schools. This is going to cause a problem. If they share the form to complete, I think people are too overwhelmed. So they had created this magical form that was supposed to fix everything, right? That didn't make any sense and it didn't work. So another one of my colleagues says, this is a silly way for us to spend our beautiful Friday afternoon. I say they think they are the experts and they think they know what's best. My colleague says, I feel like they've come to the zoo to look at us and try to figure us out. She was referencing Rosemary and Kristen because they were trying to figure out what the hell was going on. I said, ironically, Rosemary is talking about exactly what we're doing right now. We haven't gotten to the why behind the barriers our team is experiencing. Another colleague, this is odd. I wonder if our schools feel this way. Seems like leadership didn't do enough pre-planning and everyone has different agendas. One of my colleagues said that. I said, our schools definitely feel this way when we don't plan. I'm certain of it. Rosemary definitely wasn't in on their planning. She has her own agenda. One of my colleagues says they are not addressing our problems and we keep trying to communicate what we need and they won't do it. I don't even know what this nonsense is right now. I ask, do you think people will quit? My colleague says, yes. Someone else says, I'm worried we're headed in that direction. Later on, I said they're living in breath world, not depth right now. They're placing band-aids instead of doing surgery. So I said there are no pages in the cookbook, no appliances, no freaking food. Why are we in this kitchen again? Because I'm hungry. It sounds like we need Uber Eats. So again, remember one of their analogies that they were using was we're cooking in the kitchen with no appliances. I said this isn't an effective conversation to have whole group. Someone else said the most productive thing that has come out of this meeting is the one question, open-ended question from our survey from our responses. Someone else says, do we need to pull together as a larger team and yell all of this louder? Another colleague says, next steps as in risking crossing boundaries and speaking bluntly in a group setting or circling back with Jana. I said, I honestly don't think Jana is the right place either because at this point it's come to our attention that Jana was using us. So she's not the right place. I said, I'm not sure what the blockage is, honestly. That's why I always push for us, our team, to be effective, and then they'll wonder why we are so great, and then we can share our secrets. One of my colleagues, my big ahas for this week. I assume our leaders are at least a chapter or two ahead of us, but they are not. Maybe a page ahead, but more likely just a paragraph. Someone else says, yeah, I'm just confused because if we're not forming as a team, why do we choose to jam content down our throats and create new forms and processes for no reason? Those are just some of the emails that we were exchanging during, some of the text messages that we were exchanging during this meeting where it's 3 different things going on. It was too much. It was too much. And it was very clear that there were competing agendas that were present.
All right, Portia, if you can find anything more about that, if you wouldn't mind sharing it with me, I'd appreciate it. Doesn't have to be right this second.
Well, no, and that's fine. I'll look it up. That's what I was going to say, is that I cannot speak to what Kimberlyn is saying. I can just share the documents from the meeting. And when I go through, it would help me recall what happened.
Okay.
To the meeting.
Okay. So, I still need to find out more from Portia, from her recollection, before I can say anything about the finding, because we misinterpreted what you said originally to us, Kimberlyn, and I thought it was something, I thought there was like three separate visions, like literally three separate visions. So I apologize for that. We'll have to look into that a little more. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying for us.
My pleasure.
So to recap, your feelings were devalued and invalidated several times, it sounds like, including today, and we apologize for that. The plan of action is that Dr. Weller is going to have some professional development. I'm going to have some professional development too.
We could all use some professional development.
Yes, yes. We're going to, and when I say take back to the table, I mean, I have to, Dr. Fiore, our executive director, is the one who approves and disapproves our plan of action. So
remember, Dr. Fiore is the one that I shared that weekend letter that he wrote to us regarding the January 6th event, where he told us that everybody doesn't always agree, but we have to make sure that we look for the helpers. That's Dr. Fiore. And he's going to come up again because I had to talk to him too.
I have to take it back to him as far as the third-party facilitator, and whether you participate as well as Jana or whether it's just Jana. And then the other piece that I also need to take back to him is whether Dr. O'Neill can do your evaluation alone without Dr. Weller being present. We also,
Kimberlyn, during that 90-day, did you want anybody else in the room? Because
Yeah.
I mean, I know you don't have a working relationship with Dr. O'Neill.
right. So if you would like to have someone be there to support you, just let us know who it is, and that's fine. Okay. Because it needs to be someone you trust, because this is, your evaluation is a private thing. So I don't want to pick that person for you.
Thank you.
And then we are going to look a little more into this, the three vision thing from November 6th.
Yeah, may I ask a question? What would you be hoping to get from the
I couldn't hear you,
presentation?
Portia. Say that again.
I said, may I ask what would you be hoping to get from the presentation that Kimberlyn has highlighted would not show you what she has shared?
Well,
I think it would be helpful, like, if just that there were three different, I don't want to say agendas, but I guess different goals to be accomplished during that meeting.
Yeah, I don't think the PowerPoint's going to show that, because
we
saw the PowerPoint.
Right.
But I guess what I'm looking for is, do you have any recollection of how the meeting went, and how, if there was, a clear or obvious agenda or hidden agenda, I guess is the question.
Kimberly, are we articulating that correctly with the agenda? Like everybody, and so the purpose of Jana pre-meeting with you was what I heard, to further what Jana's agenda would be for that meeting.
Yeah, and I guess what I'm saying is I'm not sure what I'm not sure what I could pull together to share with you. What I can share with you, and I don't know if this is the platform or the time that I do it, is that the statewide team does work together to create an agenda when we get to the meeting, and that did not happen prior to. So I can tell you that I can speak to twice where that has happened, and I'll say specifically with this group. One time initially was around a self-care presentation that the 4 teams did that was just brought to us, like, here's the, which is why I reached out and said to Kimberlyn, like, we need to see the presentation. We make sure that anything happens, it's couched in ensuring that it's aligned to our support to the schools. That was.
So let me kind of unpack that a little bit. So when we first got started, so again, my team that I work with, I was a climate and culture specialist. I focused on SEL, social emotional learning, restorative practices, diversity, equity, and inclusion. There was another lady on the team who specialized in trauma, and she was a counselor, so on counseling methods. There was another lady whose specialty was positive behavior and support, so PBIS. And then there was the curriculum, instruction and curriculum specialist. So they told us, Jana, let me not say they, Jana told us that we needed to present at this whole team meeting. So we got together, we created a self-care PowerPoint to take our colleagues through what that process would look like. Well, I found out in this moment that Jana had done that unilaterally. She had not gone to the leadership team to share with the leadership team what we were doing. So we sent the PowerPoint thinking everything had been cleared, and we find out it hadn't been cleared. So Portia had to step in, who again was directly under Kristen, and in the day-to-day supervisory work of everything that we did. And Portia had to step in and communicate with us and say, wait, like, we need to make sure that this aligns with what we're doing. Like, what's happening here? She had no idea. So that was one time that Jana moved unilaterally, but we didn't really know what happened. So in this moment, I found that out.
One time when that was discussed prior, without prior knowledge of our team and planning that.
What was the title of that again, Portia? I'm sorry.
It was a self-care presentation, and that may have been in the month of September.
It was in September.
It was our September meeting, where that was planned and then brought to the statewide team and our planning. And so at that time, I reached out and said, hey, it's my understanding you're doing this. Please share it with me so we can review and make sure that everything is aligned. And where I even gave some feedback on that. So I can tell you that happened at one time. And then the presentation that what I'm looking for from the November 6th is to jog my memory. That's why I don't know, the presentation will not show you what Kimberlyn is highlighting in itself, but I do know that there was another meeting. I'm just not comfortable to say it was November 6th, where some pre-planning had happened and then brought like, hey, here's my thinking, and then it was shifted. That's not the direction that we're trying to go.
So Portia is saying that there was, Jana brought to her her vision that she had pre-showed us, right, in this pre-meeting or whatever. So Jana brought that to Portia, and Portia told Jana, we're not going in that direction. So then Jana came to us to try to make it seem like we need to go in that direction after Portia had already said no.
Okay, so you're not sure if it was the November 6th meeting?
Yes,
or
that's
if it was
what
another.
Okay. So I can tell you, that's why I'm looking forward to jog my memory, because I don't want to say, yes, that happened. I can tell you, which the time I just explained, that was the September meeting, and that happened a similar incident prior to.
His Kimberlyn said his November 6th was a Friday, and it continued into Monday.
Yeah,
so that might.
Yes, I remember, because it was very much a meeting that what I'm trying to think of is what our topic was to jog. But yes, it very was. The meeting started out one way, and it was like, we got to stop, because it was coming to, it was around clarity and some role clarity around what various regional improvement team members were. And what we did was, or what Rosemary and Kristen did when they kind of halted the meeting, was to open up the space to say, okay, let's talk about your challenges that you're having. And when I say that was amongst the regional improvement team members. So it was just a space that was created as we were trying to engage in some role clarity. So I do remember. I'm just trying to make sure that I give accurate information.
And I've found the calendar invite and the email. So I found where I asked Jonna, along with, we had all four of us actually asked, what did we need to be prepared to discuss in this meeting? And Jonna stated, just wanted to share with you all a preview of Friday's team meeting agenda. So I said, sounds good. Just wanted to be sure we were prepared. I have the calendar invite from January 5th at 3 o'clock to 3:45 p.m. where she states in the calendar invite topic, preview of Friday's team meeting agenda. So
and this is November 5th?
November, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's what I had just shared with y'all a little bit ago when Donna said I don't know what they're talking about. I have no idea. What? We looked at her calendar, we didn't find it. Well, clearly she deleted it because I for damn sure have a screenshot.
So I don't.
Can you send that to me or to Mary, either of us? Do you mind?
And that invitation came from Jonna to you and the statewide team.
That is correct.
Okay. So, Portia, when you said it was opened up about role clarity, is that because Jonna had one vision about role clarity and the rest of the team had another vision? I'm sorry, can't hear you.
The vision of the meeting was about role clarity. So that was the initial intent of the meeting. So whatever her thinking was and how she wanted to approach that, I'm not, that's the what Kimberlyn is speaking of. And I can tell you that in some of our conversation, when I say our, Jonna and I, was that's not the direction that we're going, like as we sat to try to plan that. So I can't speak to like the pre-planning and here's what we want to get out of it. I can just say that has happened on one other occasion where
So Kimberlyn, did you feel that that Jonna's idea about how the roles were to be clarified was different from Rosemary and Kristen's and Portia's and the other regional leads?
During the meeting, it became very clear that it was different. So this is, again, my point, that there were three different things going on. So what I heard Portia say is they had planned something as a leadership team. Jonna came and said, this is what I think should happen. Portia said, we're not going in that direction. Rosemary and Kristen were there and were like, everybody stop. We need to further clarify this, that, or whatever. So my issue in all of that is that me and my three colleagues of the team should have never been put in a position to preview this meeting that she's trying to leverage us to do whatever she wants to do when she should be collaborating with her colleagues of the leadership team. That's inappropriate. And that puts us in a very precarious position, one that we just shouldn't have had to deal with, and it just shouldn't have happened.
Okay.
And Kimberly, for my clarification, in that meeting, it's Kelly Compton, Carrie F.
Fernafel.
And Kristen. I
can
never say her name.
Fernafel.
And Kristen Campbell Holmes. Okay.
The level of
that's what I thought. I just wanted to be sure.
Don't even want to take the time to learn how to say somebody's name. Oh, freaking disgusting.
Okay. Sorry, I typed loud.
So when we're talking about devaluing, creating mistrust, right? These are consistent things that have happened, right?
I see what you're saying.
This is my point of this has been a pattern of behavior, and this does create a very toxic, I'll just say, work environment for us. And I would hope that that is not what CCIU is in support of and feeling like our work environment should sound like. So again, this was back in November. So if we go back through the events, there was October where I come to Jana and I say, this is how I'm feeling in this course. This is what has happened. Please help me. And Jana says, oh, it's not about race. They're just Southern. Then we further have another situation. This is in November of a very clear situation that is not just a breach of trust with us, but also with the leadership team that she sits on. So these things are continuing to happen, and this is not okay.
Okay. Do you have any other examples that you hadn't shared with Mary, or has anything
happened
else?
after December when we talked on December 16th?
No, I haven't had too much interaction. Of course, the holiday happened, so that was that. And the only other spaces that we've really been present in are on diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, but it's the whole group or in any team meetings that we have. So no, nothing else has happened since then. My fear is that the moment that we get the opportunity, that comments will be made, or there will be overt or covert instances to make me feel uncomfortable. So this is, again, back to the whole evaluation thing, that, for instance, with the situation of letting her into the room when the team had decided that we would wait, and then she gets into the room and she says, oh, well, if someone comes to a meeting unannounced, just leave them in the waiting room. I don't know, Kimberlyn, if that's what took you so long to let me in. So what that says to me is, you understand that you just popping into our meeting where you don't have a scheduled time to just show up is something that in any other space would not be tolerated. And the conversation further went on to, who would do that? Why would somebody ever show up to a meeting in the last whatever to run their own agenda? Who would do that? But her comment let me know that she knew what she did, and she wanted to make sure that she thought it was my fault that she didn't get let into the meeting because it was my Zoom room. So
it was your personal Zoom room that she popped in on?
And since then, I have had to change the way that I schedule Zooms. So I need to make sure that I don't schedule Zooms in my Zoom room, because I don't want to be subjected to any additional comments or any overt or covert actions that could be taken on me simply because I'm hosting a meeting in my Zoom room.
Okay. Well, thank you for shedding more light on this for us. And as I said before, I have to take a few things back to Dr. Fiore. If you think of anything else that we didn't talk about that we should know, can you please let me know immediately? Email me or call me. I think my phone number is on the email, on my signature thing. Or email or call Mary.
Yeah, I did want to say, just when I asked at the beginning of this if we understood what microaggressions were and we had a common definition, that comment that she made, that's an example of a microaggression. Taken out of context, the comment that she made of, I don't know, Kimberlyn, if that's what took you so long to let me in the room. It seemed very small in isolation. It seems something that we could easily dismiss. Oh, I'm sure. But in combination with all of the other actions, it has a negative impact. That is an example of what I'm talking about when I say microaggressions and covert instances that are creating a toxic work environment.
Okay. Gotcha.
And Kimberly, I do want to apologize for the time for when we met and to we can come meet together as a group. Again, there were some extenuating circumstances that I couldn't fully disclose to you because of the personal nature. But I again, I can't say, oh, I could know completely how you feel, because I hate when people say that to me. So I can imagine how that made you feel. And please know that wasn't our intent.
I appreciate it.
Intention versus
So
impact.
what we need to learn more about is how, even if it's not our intent, how our actions can impact.
Especially being in HR, because just, you know, we and Danielle and I feel like we're empathetic with how we do our, do our jobs.
Right.
However, just the title HR creates a negative connotation.
It does.
And we work hard to not do that. But unfortunately, it just
and I forget that sometimes. I forget.
Yeah, I do
HR. Oh, I'm getting fired. No, you're not.
Yeah. And this is a process, and we're all. It is a process, and there's no easy fix.
And part of it too, like you said, you don't know me. Like, I think if you knew me, it would be different. Like, you would know that I wasn't.
She's pretty terrible. No.
You're right. You're right. There's truth in every bit.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna stop there. And basically, look up. So that's what happened. Those are their findings. Now after this, HR Mary sends me a recap of what happened in the meeting, and that's what we'll pick up with part 5. I do not know when that is going to happen. So what happens from here is I have to upload this to YouTube. I have to activate the blurring feature, and that takes some time to process. So as soon as that is ready, I will put this out to the public on YouTube, and then I will record part 5. And part 5 again is about the communication that we had back and forth regarding the findings and how they framed the findings. After that, we'll get into the 90-day evaluation debacle, and I'll show you all what happened there. And then I have some videos that I'm going to show of me that I will be able to stream live, that I won't have to put behind a paywall, where I am talking about my experience. So having said all of that, I again want to thank y'all for rocking with me. I know that this is an investment of time. I appreciate you investing your time in this story. I do not take it lightly that you are spending hours of your time with me and listening to me. My ask is that as you are watching this, that you comment what you are feeling as you have been doing. That once the YouTube video is uploaded, that you comment on the YouTube video, that you will share this broadcast. Let it be known what is happening. Spoiler alert, I will be, once this part right here is uploaded, I will be putting it over on LinkedIn. And at that time, I definitely expect shit to hit the fan, more than it already has. So I appreciate all of your well wishes. I appreciate your prayers. I appreciate your support. But most importantly, I need you to know I'm not going to stop talking. I'm going to continue to share this. I don't care how long it takes. I'm going to continue to share this because there are children's lives that are on the line, and there are people that they traumatize, and they try to excuse it away and make it seem like it's okay. And I am not okay with that. So having said all of that, thank y'all. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I am going to go have some self-care practices and try to get myself together. I have a really, really, really bad headache right now because this was all just a lot. So I'm about to try to go deal with that and get myself together. I realize with the holidays, if you celebrate Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving to you. If you are just in a state of gratitude, please do center your spirit on things that you are grateful for. One of the things that I'm very grateful for is your support that you've provided me as I've shared this. So I will be back soon. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all very much.